Amory, I hope I pronounced that correctly. In Theist in Oregon, pronouncer he, him, wants to talk about relating the evidence for God's existence to germ theory. So, am I pronouncing that right? Is it Amory?
Oh, I'm
My
sorry.
earbud.
There we
So,
go. Sorry, I had you muted, Amory, on my end. I apologize. It was to deal with the car sounds of the last caller, so you have to
no
repeat yourself.
problem. Are you
Cool.
able to hear me? I'm on some earbuds that I was hoping they worked. So,
Yep, we got you now.
We hear you.
Okay.
I just wanted to know if I was is it
Yeah,
pronounced Amory?
Close enough. It's Amory, but I don't
Amory?
put
Okay.
too many hairs on that. Yeah.
I want to try and get it right when I can.
So,
All right, go for it.
No problem. And then I just want to start by saying that my conversation is going to be more of like thought experiment rather than trying to demonstrate like a proof. So I don't know if you are interested in wasting your time with a thought experiment.
I'll take a thought experiment. I'd always prefer a syllogism backed by evidence, but I'll take a thought experiment over lots of the garbage that ends up coming in.
Okay. Well, two things, and your screener asked me to sort of present it as like a one sentence thing, and I really unfortunately couldn't narrow it down, put it in one sentence without it sounding weird, because I wasn't exactly comparing evidence for God with germ theory. What I was going to talk about is how I relate the idea of germ theory to the idea of, the uncaused first cause or the unmixed first neither, and that kind of thing. So hopefully it'll come across as I intended, rather than comparing it to actual germ theory from Lee Pasteur. Let's bring that up as a sort of a basis to the argument.
I'm not following you yet, so let's just get to the thought experiment.
Okay. So as it related to germ theory, so obviously, disease and decay was, as it relates to germ theory, was before obviously Lee Pasteur was able to prove it, and before we developed the technology to discover the actual microorganisms that cause it. It was thought of to be spontaneous, right? That the rotting of the meat or the diseases, those things were sort of spontaneously manifested, and it wasn't until like germ theory. Go ahead.
Let me jump in for just a second. For anybody who's not aware, up until the end of the 19th century, the prevailing theory was ancient, developed by the Greeks and generally referred to as miasma, where the thing that would cause a disease was tied to the location there. It's entirely possible to look at germ theory and say that, oh, this is just an extension of miasma. So we found the thing but there is no miasma. And so what we had was a model about decay in the place, and you would walk by the place, and that's what would make you sick and things like that. And then we discovered germs. And by the way, this isn't the germ theory of disease isn't the theory for all disease, just diseases that are communicated, that are transferred this way. And so instead of it being about a location or a bad smell or anything else, we've now found the thing that is responsible for it. And it allowed us to know that it's not just tied to the place. The germs can get on me and I can transfer them to other people. And that allows us to understand that humans can be vectors in disease as well.
Right.
So
right,
continue.
I'll continue then. So the thoughts that I had were that we're in a sort of a state of understanding today, and definitely in the past, where we don't actually have the sort of the not just the technology or the scientific tools necessary to detect microorganisms, like as it relates to germs, but we don't have the necessary tools to discover the forces at work that of course pulling this all back to, God. Or
Wait,
I think in the
Amy?
past I've heard you. Yes. go ahead.
Amory, I just want to make sure I understand that. You're saying that once upon a time we didn't have the tools to detect microorganisms, but now we do. And you're saying we don't currently have the tools to detect the forces of God? Is that what you said?
Sort of. I would say that some people already believe in germs. If we can stay in the sort of the metaphor, I guess, that I'm using here.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out what you said, because you said that in something along the lines of, you said that in the same way that once upon a time we didn't have the technology to detect microorganisms, you said we don't have the tools to discover the forces at work, and then I couldn't understand what you said afterwards.
You were right. You were right in your interpretation
Okay.
of what I was saying.
Okay.
Okay.
So let me hit this real quick, Amory. Before we had the technology to discover germs, anybody who thought there was germs was right by coincidence and had no evidentiary warrant for their belief, and their belief could have also proven out to not be correct. And so if the analogy is that we don't currently have the tools to discover God in the same way that we didn't used to have the tools to discover germs, then everybody who believes in a God is, in that model, completely without evidentiary warrant. So if they're right by happenstance, and it could be the case that they're not correct. So the time to believe something is after there's evidence. The time to believe the germ theory of disease is after we have the ability to detect this and demonstrate the germ theory of disease. If you believe in the germ theory of disease before that, you are irrational.
I'm comfortable in accepting your position there. Yeah, you would be believing in something without the proof to substantiate it. Correct.
Okay, and so just for clarity, you are now saying that you acknowledge that you believe in a God that you don't have good reason to believe in.
Yes.
Okay.
So I would say that I don't have sufficient evidence to support the God I believe in.
Here's the thing, Amory. How many other gods do you not have sufficient evidence for that you don't believe?
Well, that's where the second half of my thoughts were going to take us.
I'm all caught up. Go ahead.
I was just going to get to sort of wrap up the germ theory part in that, yes, I agree with you that people who believed in germ theory before it was proven would have been correct coincidentally, but I believe that there could have been people with good reason to believe in germ theory prior to the Pasteur proving its in his experiments, right?
You can't have it both ways. You're trying to have it both ways.
Well, why not? Let me argue why I disagree with that I'm trying to advocate in the debate. If somebody, like you brought up the miasma and the locality thing, if somebody were to believe that their friend who passed through the area with the miasma and brought the germs home with them, yes, they haven't proved germ theory yet, but their friend walked through the area, they brought the germs home, get them, and then they got their grandmother sick. And then person X say to themselves, and again, they would be correct by coincidence, but the point is they look at that situation and they go, I don't think that the miasma was spontaneous. They have to believe that there's something that the friend who walked through the area picked up and brought home to get them off, right?
Amory,
So,
what you're describing is the formulation of a hypothesis that you then test, and the time to believe it is after the testing has been confirmed. If you believe it prior to that, it doesn't matter that whether or not you turn out to be right, because you could just as easily have turned out to be wrong.
Correct.
So
we could be wrong. I'm willing to accept
Sure.
that we could be wrong.
okay, this is the part that I'm trying to get to. You seem comfortable believing in a God that you acknowledge you could be wrong about, that you acknowledge you don't have good evidential warrant to believe. And I'm asking, the question I had was, there are, let's just say, let's not try to count them up. Let's say there's 20 other gods that you don't believe in, and you don't have any more evidence for the one you're convinced of than you do for the ones that you're not convinced of, right?
Sure, in theory, yeah.
Okay. So now you have 21 gods.
Because I haven't yet described which gods I disbelieve in.
No,
Or which
sir.
God that I
It
do
doesn't.
believe in.
That part doesn't matter. I just set up just the scenario I just asked is there's 21 gods. You believe in one of them. Do you have more and better evidence for the God that you believe in than the other ones?
Though I didn't say that I only believed in one out of the 21.
How many
Aren't
gods do you believe
presuming
in?
then that I only believe in one out of 21?
Yes. How many of the 21 gods? How many of the 21 fucking gods that I just invented do you believe in?
I would say, and I don't mean to get you upset, but I would say, and you've argued this point in the past about there being thousands of different deities throughout the history of the ages, and they're not all the same, they're not all identical, et cetera, et cetera. But I would say that I believe in a God that has been presented multiple times in many different ways by people misinterpreting it. Even the
Amory.
The Christian.
Amory.
Yes.
That sounds to me like you believe in one God that people have represented as several different gods, correct?
Yeah, you could put it that way in
Cool.
simple terms.
So now that we're back to you believing in one God, let's say there are 20 other gods that you don't believe in. Do you think there are at least 20 other gods that you don't believe in?
I would have to ask what you mean by 20 different other gods that I don't
I'm
believe
going
in.
to invent
Because-
20 gods right now. Gods 1, 2, 3, all the way down through 20. And all 20 of those gods have characteristics that you reject as being an actual function of a god. Are you able to think in the abstract at all? Do you think that I could invent 20 gods that you don't believe in?
I absolutely, but I
Okay.
think you're.
No,
I think you're presupposing something.
Stop.
Hold on.
You believe
Matt,
in a god.
hold
No, you hold the fuck on.
Listen
You don't tell me to
listen,
hold on.
Hold on.
You don't tell me to hold
But you're
on.
not letting me
Hold-
address. You're not. You're
Okay,
not,
I'm muting you because you're not telling me to hold on. You believe in one God, and you believe that there are 20 other gods that I could invent right now that you don't believe in. Correct?
Am I back on?
I just asked you a question, correct?
Yes. I didn't know if I was still
Okay.
being muted or not.
Yeah, that's
You
what
are-
happens when you
you
hear the
are-
beep. So you believe in one God, and you
okay.
believe that there are 20 other
But-
gods that I could invent that you don't believe in. So, do you have more and better evidence for the one God than you do for the 20?
Well, in a way, I do. Yes.
Okay.
No way.
What is the evidence?
But
and what do
again,
you,
you're
why
not
would
letting me address. You're not letting me
Wow.
address.
I'm literally asking you the fucking question so that you can address it, you lying piece of shit. You're not letting me address it. Here I'm asking you to
You're moving
address it.
past the-
No, now you're
I'm
unmuted.
going to address
Listen,
it, Matt.
listen to me.
Okay.
For the God
I'm
you
going
believe
to
in.
address it, Matt.
Would you listen to me? Shut your pie hole and listen to me, and I will ask you a question, and then you will get to say whatever it is you need to say. For the God that you are convinced exists, what better evidence do you have for that God than for any God you do not believe in?
The evidence that I have for the God I believe in, I would only say that it's better than the 21 gods you just told me you invented, because I am aware of your invention of them. Just like if you were Stan Lee and you created a couple, God rest his soul, love Stan Lee, but if I know that you're Stan Lee and that you just created.
Okay, now you're muted. Fine. Let's redo this. I'll give you a different set of 20. Are there 20 gods that you don't believe in, that you don't have evidence that somebody just made them up right now? For example, are there 20 possible gods that you don't believe in, that you do not have direct evidence that somebody invented them as a fiction?
Can I ask a question to clarify the question that you're asking me?
I guess so. I don't know why this is so hard, but go ahead.
Are you asking me that okay, let's use an example. Are you asking me that does the God I believe in have more evidence that it wasn't invented by, people as a Ganesh or Ra?
So you don't believe in Ra or Ganesh, right?
That's not what I said. I said
I'm
you're
asking,
saying that.
do you understand what a fucking question is, Amory? Do you believe in Ra? Do you believe in Ra?
I believe Ra has the same problems that the God I believe in has.
That's not.
Do you believe in Ganesh?
I would say that I believe Ganesh has the same problems that the God I believe in has.
Oh my God.
And that is that
You are fucking incapable of answering the question you're asked. I didn't ask you if Ganesh has the same problem as the God you believed in. I didn't ask you if Ra has the same problem as the God you believe in. I asked, do you believe in Ra or Ganesh?
yes and no.
Goodbye.
I was zoning out for a lot of that because there was a very, very lengthy metaphor that I just didn't care about, so I tuned it completely out. But I was like, okay, at least this caller's answering some questions right up until the most important point of those questions.
It's like religion breaks your fucking brain. A straightforward question of, hey, you believe in one God. Are there 20 other gods you don't believe in? Yeah. Okay, cool. Do you have better evidence for yours being real than those? Yeah, because you just made those up. All right, let's get rid of, I just made them up in front of you. Are there 20 abstract gods out there that somebody could believe is real, that they didn't just invent as a novelty for this thought experiment? Captain, I don't have an argument. I want to present a thought experiment, but I don't know what the fuck a thought experiment is. Are there 20 others that you don't believe in? And then after all that, we get to yes and no. Yes and no is not a possible answer. You are either convinced that Ra is real, or you are not convinced that Ra is real. You are either convinced that Ganesh is real, or you are not convinced that Ganesh is real.
It's funny because you were saying, are you incapable of answering the question you're asked? And the truth is, he is capable. The thing is, he detected that the line of questioning was going to expose the problem with what he was putting forth. And so he was desperately attempting to avoid that outcome. I think he is what was happening. I think he's perfectly capable of answering a question, which is why we call callers like that dishonest. It's not that they're lying. It's that they are, some sort of mechanism is causing them to avoid answering the question honestly because they're aware of the implications.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jimmy Snow. I'm the executive producer of The Line. And at night, I sneak into Matt Dillahunty's house and I trade his cereals for other cereals. He comes out and he's like, wait, these are cereals I buy, but I swear I had different cereals. Anyway, would you like to support this channel or any specific show? You can do so over on Patreon or in channel memberships. There are special tiers for special shows or for the channel at large, and it helps us expand programming as well as hopefully very soon launch it in podcast form. Now, also, if you'd like to support, you can like, you can subscribe, you can leave a comment or a super thanks, which is a special highlighted comment that you pay for. Those are fun. And, screw the algorithm, go check out something over here, I suppose. Boy, I hope I can still put those icons there, because if I can't, this is going to look really stupid. I'm going to go buy some Cocoa Puffs and switch out Matt's mini wheats now.